Should you lock out your elbows in a handstand? I'm going to give you the long, poetic version of why you should not. And you might have heard something different before, and I get that. We'll talk about that too. But it's pretty boring to just sit there and stare at me talking back to you. So the first thing I want to tell you is, ultimately, with the long-term goal, you should be shooting for soft elbows. Soft elbows does not mean you go Gumby. We'll get down to it. But I think what I'd like to do, instead of bore you in this lecture style, is put the words with an awesome flow so that while you're watching the movement, you can digest the information. So let's get down to it. Soft elbows or locked out when you're weight bearing with straight arms down on your hands and wrists. Which one do we do and why? What's the damage? Let's talk about it, because this is actually pretty transferable into a lot of different aspects of life and movement. Well, soft elbows require strength, and they require this really deep strength, which is our stabilizer muscles around the joints. Because really what we're talking about here is securing the stacked joints to get us into a position that is sustainable, controllable, where we can optimize balance via a solid base of support and scaffolding from the ground up. But to keep soft elbows, you have to have the support to balance that scaffolding via the stabilizing muscles. And you can bypass some strength by locking out the elbows, but at what cost? When we think about locking out elbows and locking out joints, we're thinking more about the bones doing the majority of the work. When you think about soft elbows, you're thinking about this just micro bend, not even a bend, but it's a softness that makes you have to use the muscles around the joints versus hard on hard. Now we're talking about this like bubble wrap made of steel, a superhero bubble wrap that's doing the work. Why? What does it matter? What does it matter? Why can't we just use that locked out joint to keep us in stacked, controlled balance? Well, you're bypassing establishing a foundation that will serve you beyond that one kick up. And this is what I suggest in all things, that you don't bypass for the quickest route. We're fed quick. We are fed quick. We are suffocated with quick. And that quick fix is so counterproductive. Because let me tell you something that you might already know. Life is quick. It is so quick. It is exponentially quick. So the older that you get, the quicker it goes. Why do we need a quick fix? Why do we need to bypass things just to have it real fast, but not actually gain or benefit from the long-term goals? Because those long-term goals are actually fast, because life is fast. So what is the point? We're just part of the hamster wheel. The magic is in slowing down. The tortoise had it right. Slow and steady wins the race. And sometimes you gotta stop for a hot second in this crazy, fast, stimulating grind and ask yourself, what race are you running? Why are you trying to get to that finish line? What do you gain when you cross through the ribbon? So yeah, you can bypass some strength by locking out the elbows, but at what cost? what are we sacrificing? Making legs out of arms should require a specialized strength. It's an abnormal way to support the body. It's an abnormal base of support for bipedal beings. Now, will you spend enough time upside down to actually do any damage? And the chances are that if you're spending enough time on your hands to call it repetitive overuse, repetitive overhead overuse, then you've most likely built the necessary strength to be up there. And if you haven't, then you're not going to be up there very long. Not long enough to do some damage immediately. But here's where the damage is done. It's in the way that we do things. It's in the way that we approach things. And that all begins in the mind. It's also in the foundation that we set, because you set that foundation and you start to build around it. But it doesn't change what is set in stone. So if we carve our strength around cut corners, what is sacrificed down the line? What habits are so deeply ingrained that we can't get through the layers we've built and rebuild and reset the foundation once we realize, shit, that really didn't serve me in the long term. In the long term, that is actually really fast. So you might as well do the work, because we're all looking for that thing that sets us apart. And we're all looking at how to get ahead. And what we're failing to see in this fight to be seen really quickly and really fastly, and thinking that's what everybody wants, what we're failing to see is slow and steady wins the race. In a world where everything is being quickened, in an already fleeting time on earth, that's what I encourage you to ask yourself. What is the long-term goal versus the quick fix to keep up? Because that's all gonna fly by. It's gonna be the next quicker thing, the next attention-grabbing thing. It's just surface. It's just surface. But in this quest for surface level, we set some faulty foundation. And it's gonna be really, really hard to go back and fix that. Short-term pressures are barriers to long-term dreams. Time is a thief. What is the rush? Doing the work at what seems like it'll take too much time, too much focused effort, boring. It ends up being a blip in time regardless. Longevity goals give way to longevity. Isn't that what we all really want? To live long and well, to be healthy, to be happy. Longevity goals produce longevity. So that's what I encourage you to do, is really think about why you're doing what you're doing, for what purpose, what's at the end of the finish line. So, though immediately there might not be a worry that you'll spend so much time weight bearing on your hands to make it repetitive overuse, with time, the way that we build things becomes deeply ingrained in our foundation, and the more that's piled on top of, the harder it will be to ever uncover those layers and reset or revise that foundation. When you get older, you might realize, damn, I wish my younger self had considered me. Long-term goals might be to transition in and out of a handstand. If we're going to go back to the specific handstand goals, specific upside down movement goals, it might be as simple as, yeah, I want to stand and control myself on my hands, but then I want to land in arm balance, and then I want to press up into a handstand. I want to do that floaty, crazy stuff. So if you're just like, I just want to hold the handstand, that's step one. Here's my quickest route. Lock out those joints. You're making the ultimate goals further away and more impossible. Locked elbows are just that. They are locked in place. They're dependent on the bones and ligamentotaxis. The ligaments just lock in, threaden and lock in. And joints over the muscles and tendons that surround them. Soft isn't weak. And that's another transferable lesson within this discussion. Soft isn't weak. Those muscles and tendons, again, that's your bubble wrap of steel. Okay, soft is grace, and grace is strength. Bone on bone, just hammered into the joint, bone into joint, without those stabilizing muscles, without those tendons. It's chipping away. Chipping away. We got one body to last our lifetime. We don't want to chip away at it. We want to build it into a suit of armor. Muscle is the cushioning. It's the strong bubble wrap of steel cushioning. It's our protection. So when we approach handstands with that sort of a mindset, with that sort of a long-term vision and goal, you don't just handstand. You improve your body. You improve your mind. You get out of the rat race. You get out of the tunnel we're all crammed into, the funnel we're all trying to slip through. You set yourself apart from the crowd. You get out of that mess. You get off to the side and you look at it from outside that box you were put in, and that's the win. Okay, that's when you cross that finish line and you realize, yeah, that's not my race.